it's Rae. Welcome to my CLC Capstone project. Woo! How exciting. So, for my capstone project, we're going to be talking about a different capstone project that I made in 10th grade for a religion class. In grade 10, I made a project called Recreational Marijuana Legalization in Canada, and it was a video essay, much like this one. I got a lot of questions about it, and so I think for my final send-off capstone project, it would only be fitting to talk about that one. For my grade 10 project, I took inspiration from a style of video seen on YouTube called Draw My Life, in which the person creating the video uses images and drawings on a whiteboard to convey their message along with a voiceover to tell a story. This is what I used for my project. Here is a clip now.
Hey guys, my name is Rae, and today I will be doing my project for religion on my essential question, which is my opinion on recreational marijuana legalization in Canada.
I know, kind of cringy. I have a hard time watching it today, because there's a lot of things that, had I made this video now, I would have done differently. Today we're going to talk about some of those. On one hand, I do really like seeing this video again, because it reminds me of this project that I put so much time and effort into, and got such a good response, which was very pleasantly surprising for me. This project was the first big project that I've ever done that I feel was very ambitious and made me feel really amazing that I conquered it, that I got through all these problems that arose. Today, I want to share with you how I made this project, because I've gotten a lot of questions about it. I got questions on how I filmed it, how I edited it, how I came up with it, how I put it all together. And today, I want to answer all of those questions. So, for my final CLC project, my big capstone, I'm going to be making a how-to on how to make your own Draw My Life style video. Let's get right into it. Okay, so firstly, let's talk about what supplies you will need to create your own video. Well, first off, obviously, is some kind of camera. This is the camera that I used back in grade 10 to produce my video. It's just a simple little point and shoot camera. Your camera you use does not have to be an expensive one at all. You can use anything from a cell phone camera to a point and shoot to a DSLR camera, which I'm currently recording on. The quality of your camera doesn't matter. You can use whatever you have available at your disposal. You can record on a Nintendo DS for all that I care. If you have a nice camera, it can't hurt to use it to make the video slightly better quality, but overall, it doesn't matter what you use. One thing that I would change, had I made this video today, is I would use my nicer camera, which I have now. But it does not matter what you have, because this guy got me through just fine. The next thing you will need is a whiteboard. I bought mine at Staples, but if you do not want to buy one, I'm sure you will have a friend or someone who has one that can lend you one, or if not, you could ask to use one at school. Please don't feel you need to buy an expensive whiteboard for this project. I bought this one mostly because I wanted it for my bedroom anyways. Your whiteboard can be of any size, but it'll be a bit easier if you have one that's a bit larger like this one. A smaller one will still work, but this gives you more space to play around and draw things. Along with the whiteboard, you will of course need something to write with. I would suggest a whiteboard marker so you can erase your creation after you're done with it. If you want to add a bit of pizzazz to your project, I would recommend having more than one color marker. But you do you. If you want to have just black and white, you go for it. The next thing you will need for your project is a tripod of some kind. Now, if you don't have one, you can always do the makeshift stacking books on top of each other, but I would definitely recommend getting some kind of actual tripod. We'll talk more about the tripod when we get to the filming setup. The next thing you will need is for the voiceover portion, and that is a microphone. Now, I don't have a fancy microphone, so I used my phone, and it worked perfectly fine. If you have a nicer microphone, I would highly recommend using it, as better audio quality can always improve your project. But if you're like me, the phone will do. Next up, you will need some kind of computer with a video editing software on it. If you're a fancy pants and you have Adobe Premiere Pro, please go ahead and use that. I can't afford that right now, so my current setup is using PowerDirector 16 because I got it on sale. How nice. If you don't want to spend any money for video editing software, a free software I would suggest is called Shotcut, although it has given me some problems in the past, but it works perfectly fine for this type of project. Lastly, you will need a script. something to follow along so you know what you're going to say and what you're going to draw. But we'll talk about that later. One of the most crucial things for this type of project is video setup. You want to make sure you're set up well so that your product turns out good. Let's talk a bit about how I set up my project in grade 10. Before we start, I want to say that I have moved since my last video, so I don't have the exact recreation of it before you guys, but I'm going to give you as close of an idea as I can. For the original project, my whiteboard was on the floor with a tripod on top of it, camera facing down, right next to a window to get as much natural light as possible. Natural light is your friend here. It's going to help your end product look a lot better. As for lighting, I would recommend using as much natural light as possible, though you can still add a couple lamps or other lighting sources if you need. You want to keep your lighting as consistent as possible for this. So I would recommend filming earlier in the morning so that you have a lot of daylight to work with and don't have to worry about the sun setting and ruining your shot. If you're using a whiteboard that is mounted onto the wall, which may even be preferable for some people, you would set your camera up like you would for a normal video shooting face to face like this, with your camera facing away on the wall. If you're using a school whiteboard, obviously it's going to be on the wall, so you're going to follow a slightly different setup than what I'm going to show you today, but the same principles will apply. In the end, how you set up your video is totally up to you. Your shot, your angle, your lighting, completely in your control. Just try to make it so that it can be consistent throughout the video and that it's to your liking. Now, let's start going through the steps on how you make your very own video. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is make your script. Now, there's going to be two scripts you want to make for this kind of project. One with words and one with pictures. We're going to start with the one with words first, because that's what you're going to say in the voiceover. This is where you're going to have all the content that you want in your video, and it's very important to have it organized here. It is very important to have your script finalized before you go on further, because for this kind of project, if you want to change something later, it can be a bit difficult to undo everything. So I would suggest having a strong script before you even start storyboarding or start filming of any kind. After your script is complete and you know what you're going to say, it's time to start storyboarding. This is a step you can skip if you feel you have a very clear image in your head already. But for less organized people, this is very important, so make sure what you draw is going to line up with what you say.
To make your thumbnails, read your script and imagine what image would go well with what you are saying. This can take a bit of time to get used to, so I recommend watching a few videos on YouTube with this style of editing to see how they cut together the audio and the images. It may help to read the script out loud while you are completing this step, to help you visualize how long it will take to say each sentence, showing you how much time you will need to fill with drawing. What I did was break up the script into chunks of at least 4 sentences, and then use that as my guide when making my thumbnails. Once you are done your thumbnails, you're ready to set up and start filming. Now to start filming your video, make sure you're set up properly, and then start recording. Simply go through your thumbnails and your script, and draw the pictures that you have done, erasing them in between. Do this until you've completed all the pictures on your thumbnail sheet. Then you're ready to start editing.
Now that we're done recording our video, it's time to record audio to match up with it. So what you're going to do is very simply open whatever kind of recording software you have. For me, it was just the recording app on my phone, and read along your script. If you're making a longer video, it might be very useful to break your script down into chunks and label them like 1, 2, 3, intro, outro, however you feel. This way, when you're recording your audio, you read just a small chunk, and if you screw up, like I tend to do, then you just start from the beginning of that chunk rather than having to redo the whole thing. I'm not very skilled at editing audio, so I wanted to make it very easy for myself, and this is a good way to do it. Congratulations, you've filmed your video and you've recorded your audio, so here comes what's my favorite part, the editing. For a lot of people this can be really daunting, but once you get into it, it's not too bad. Now I'm going to show you how I edited my video in grade 10. Before I start, I should mention that I'm not an expert by any means. I'm completely self-taught, so all these methods are things that I made up to get through. If they don't work for you, that's totally cool. You'll find your own way of doing it very soon, I promise. Now, let's start editing.
Here we are in my video editing software. The first thing we're going to do is put in all the raw video clips and all the raw audio clips. As of right now, the video will not be lining up with the audio clips, and that's okay. First, just listen through all the audio to make sure you have everything you need. Then we can start editing. The first thing we're gonna do, now that we have our clips in, is mute the audio in all of your video clips. It's a lot easier to do it now when you have one large clip than to do it once you've split it up into chunks. Muting the audio will make it easier to hear the voiceover and music in your video, and there won't be any scratchy pen noises in the background. Now, the tedious part. We will watch the first clip and cut out any unnecessary footage. For instance, spots where you can see my head peeking into the frame, or any drawings that you feel aren't good enough for the final cut. To do this, watch through the raw clip and split it where you want it to end. Then, make another cut where you want it to start up again. Do this until you've gone through all the raw footage. Next up, we experiment with different run-through speeds available to see which best match up with the audio. This can be a lot of guessing and checking, but if you are patient, it will all come together. Once you have lined up the first clip with the corresponding audio, you can move on to the next clip until you reach the end. To do this, click on the first clip and edit the speed, either speeding it up or slowing it down. Then, watch through again with your audio and adjust as needed. To add more interest to your video, it can be useful to have different sections of the same clip run at different speeds to keep your viewers' attention. Once you are finished lining up your video with your audio, watch it all the way through and tweak as needed. It is a lot of back and forth until you can finally find the audio-video balance that you're looking for. Once you're done, it's time for music.
Now it's time for music. This is a very exciting, but totally optional step. If you feel your video has more impact without music, just leave it be, but it can add a lot of interest. If you plan on posting your video online, it's very important to use copyright-free music. I'll show you how to find some of that. Since the video we're making has a voiceover, it's probably going to be best to use music that doesn't have vocals, as to not interfere with what I'm saying. If you are the kind of person that creates your own music, just pop it in and you're done. Easy as that. But for those of us who aren't as musically inclined, we have to find our music elsewhere. Here's where I get mine.
Here we are in the YouTube audio library. This is where I get all my music for video editing projects. There are lots of tabs with different modifiers so you can find the exact song for your project. This is one of the easiest websites that I've found that gives you both copyright-free and lyric-free music that you can use in any of your projects. I have 100% guarantee there is something in here for you. You just have to look around for it. Now that you've found and downloaded a song from the YouTube audio library, the next thing to do is insert it into your video. You want to check to make sure that the audio levels are fine and that they won't interfere with your audio that you have presently. For me, I was lucky, and the song was quiet enough that I didn't have to edit it. But keep that in mind when inserting your song. Now that you've done all this, it's time for your final watch through. Now you can make any last-minute edits you want to make, and make sure you didn't miss anything. And congratulations, you're done! You're ready to post your video online, or do whatever you please with it.
Now that we've done all this and we've added our music, it's time for your final watch through. Watch through and make sure everything is exactly how you want it, because odds are you missed something. I always do. Once you watch through and you make sure everything's lined up properly, the vocals are good, and everything is working, it's time to post. You're free to post it on any kind of social media or keep it for yourself. It's up to you. Well, that's all from me, folks. Now you know how I made my grade 10 religion project. I hope you learned something or at least found it a little bit amusing. Video editing is something I've always been quite passionate about, and I've always loved, but I've never really taken the time to properly learn how to do it. This project was really important to me as it gave me that opportunity, and I'm very thankful for that. This project also taught me a lot about patience, because I had a lot of difficulty doing it. Hopefully my breaking down of this project will help you avoid any problems that I may have gone through the first time. Looking back on this project, I've seen a lot of things that I would do differently now, such as quieter music, A better voiceover, better lighting, using a nicer camera, etc. There's a lot of things I'd change. Seeing this, though it makes me cringe that my last project wasn't the best, shows me a lot that I've grown since grade 10, and really all of my high school experience. The point of this CLC project was to see that I've grown, and I think I have. A few years ago, I would not have been close to making this kind of video, and I'm very proud of myself for how much I've grown. I've learned a lot, and I'm very thankful for my time at St. Andrews. Well, I hope you learned something, and that this answered a lot of the questions that people have asked me over and over. Maybe now you can even make your own Draw My Life video. Well, my name's Rae, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk, CLC project. Goodbye. I'm done. Goodbye.
But hold on a second. Don't you want to see how my project within a project turned out? Well, roll clip. Hi, it's Rae again. Welcome to my project within a project. This is a mini whiteboard video that I'm making to show you how your video might turn out. Now, in filming this, I somehow managed to break my tripod, so the angle I'm using here is not ideal, so please excuse that. So far, in creating our video, we gathered supplies, wrote a script, set up our filming setup, recorded our video, recorded our audio, edited our video, and added music. So, this is what your final project will look like. I hope you've enjoyed watching my CLC project. Let's hope I can finally graduate now. Goodbye!
You know what? That's enough.